chapter 8 of Travelers.
Ours kind of
That one's awesome.
Isn't it good? I couldn't put that one
We
down.
just started going into Louisville. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I couldn't put that book down.
They're probably that elementary school.
Wait, that's
Yeah,
The
yeah.
curling club is like.
I was mad when it ended because now you gotta wait till book 5 to see those characters again.
Definitely.
Yeah.
well,
Oh, it happens.
1, 2, 3, 4.
White tablecloth.
Yeah, I know.
So embarrassed.
I'm
Three
hung
is-
up.
I get on anyone though, thank you.
Yeah, I'm hung up on that one right now. I haven't gotten into it yet, but it is good too. Oh my god, I just need to dig into it.
Already?
I started watching the movie again last night and I'm just like, reading at the TV, I'm like, this isn't what happened.
It's unwatchable if you ask me. Like I was so
It is.
disappointed. Like I was like, I can't
It
watch
just
this.
twists the whole story.
Yeah, ruined.
Yeah.
It could have been good.
Good. And the rest of the series, TV series, is coming out in like December, and I'm like,
Oh, is it?
shit.
I'm not sure.
Like
Maybe-
invested into like the movie in 2 episodes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure they'll botch it based on where they're.
Oh, they will. Ah, you like that tea, don't you? It's the only one.
It's very good.
It's time? Oh, okay. You guys are all in a hurry. Call the meeting to order. Acknowledge that the Smoking Valley in which we learn, work, and organize is the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Smokeman people, home of the Upper Smokeman Indian Band. We do have one amendment to the agenda, and that's for a 90.1 at the end. So with that, can I get a motion to accept the agenda as amended? Thank you. Councillor Willis, seconder. Councillor Elliott, all in favor? Carried. We have no minutes, so we will go right down to 6.2 Splash Park location discussion, and I'll pass that over to CAO.
Yeah, actually, I've asked Nadine to to be here at the meeting today as well, but we have heard that we will be getting reimbursed for the damaged splash park and playground equipment down along the river, and so we're just wanting to have a discussion with council on a relocation for that equipment. Of course, we don't want to put it back where it was because that's well in the floodplain, and an area that that we want to sort of allow the river to take over if it needs to. So so we're looking for a new location for the splash park and this this playground, and just wanted to open up to the Florida Council to discuss on if they had any ideas or thoughts or preferences. Nadine is here as well. She's done a little bit of work on possible site locations and advantages and whatever. So does anyone have any thoughts on where a good place would be? We start planning.
For myself, you know, there's 2 locations that kind of come to mind. One that's really in our community would be Lions Park on Second Bench. That playground area, it's nice, you know, the L shape, it's a nice size. The only issue is where we run into is we have to look at washrooms, and we also have to look at parking. So if it's not people from the community that are walking to it, you know, they're coming to park. And that was one of the issues we had a little bit along Lime Street, right, was parking became an issue. So, I mean, that does put a playground, or a unique playground, that would be inviting not only for our local community, but also for visitors. So do we want visitors coming down into the middle of our, you know, residential area? That's the question. But it's a nice spot. It's one of our bigger parks, and easy access and understanding how to get there for driving. And then, of course, our poor Memorial Park is a little full right now, but that, you know, there's some ideas for down there potentially. But then again, we do lack, you know, everybody that goes there has to drive there pretty much, right? Because you don't want families really walking more along the highway. Other than that, those are kind of my 2 locations. I always thought, you know, down by the dog park might be a neat one too, but we would have to look at land there as well. But that's one that's, you know, really conclusive for walking along the KVR and ended up in a unique park, and for visitors as well. So those are kind of my thoughts, looking at our parks. Every other playground, large space area in our parks are all in residential, right? And some of them are kind of hard to find if you really don't understand where they are. So those are kind of my my ideas. So,
We're just looking to start the discussion today. Of course, we do have a strategic planning session coming up as well, which we can kind of continue the discussion. But if anyone had any ideas that we can start exploring, that would be helpful.
I mean, I agree. We were talking about if we were to replace, we should look at Lions Park or Memorial. The park on the flats doesn't belong to us, and I don't want to invest any money into that. And then, yeah, I
I'm
don't.
liking the dog park area simply because it's
We don't
easy access for tourists.
Yeah, we don't own it, so
I understand
we would have
that.
to get permission from the province, and then if that was to go away, we would lose it, so.
I'm just thinking visibility and access.
Yeah, I understand that part. I just, again, it's one of those situations where we don't own the land and there was no permits for the dog park, so, you know, moving forward, it might cause other problems. Yeah.
I always feel like the triangle at the park, Memorial Park, is kind of a, you know, you put it out there, there's lots of parking everywhere. And,
Started washrooms.
huh? Yep, top, yeah, like behind the, you know, the bathrooms are right there. You know, we wouldn't have to, like, I'm sure we could fix them up a little bit. Gary's good at that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm all over that area in terms of, think about hot summer, tourists driving by, kids are screaming and yelling, it's hotter than heck, and there's a splash park right on the side of the highway you can pull over. And as you were saying, I didn't think that much about washrooms, but like you say, washrooms are right handy. There's seemingly tons of area of parking. I think would it not, Gary, be a kind of an attraction?
Oh, I'm sure it would, yeah. I'm sure it would be a draw for people going by. I guess my only reservation is that they're not coming downtown, which is kind of like, but you can't, not everything can come downtown, so it's, no, but that would be my only.
In front of
yeah.
Billy's. You play traffic while you're playing in the water park. Yeah, that's the downside, right? Is like that park, that situation. I mean, it was great, and I used to send people there all the time. You'd see kids, you know, they'd be sitting on the bollards there and whatnot. They'd get a sandwich from the grocery store, and I'd be like, you know, there's a park just around the corner, and they would always go down there and with their families and get them to stretch out. Yeah, go ahead.
If Memorial Park becomes a consideration, is there any way to look at getting either land use agreements or something from Ministry of Highways so that we can do a walkway or create a path of some sort?
Yeah, so we can look into that. The property between the town and Memorial Park is in the regional district, so we don't own that strip. It's not in town boundary. So as soon as you cross the bridge, that's, except for the visitor center, or the old visitor center, it is in Area H, up to the reserve, and it crosses, yeah, it's weird. There's a weird line there. But the side of the road is technically in Area H there, so. Because I was looking at that, because I've always wanted to just, you know, what we did on the KVR, and just do like a quick paved path to help people get up and down. I thought that would be great, but we can look into license or
There's
some
an
sort of
unofficial
license.
path that people use, but it's not maintained, so that's where the
If
concern
we were
would
to
be.
consider something like that, we should maybe consider going it all the way to the RV park, because that's a common thing that I get from RVers and feedback we get, is they're afraid to take their bicycles up or afraid to walk into town because of the highway. So I like that idea. If we could, it'd be nice if we could extend it. I don't know if that's a pipe dream, but it would be.
There's enough room in the section from Memorial Park to town. There's not, you've got the river and the highway and then a bank. But there is that road up above.
We can look at the road above, and how we can
Yeah.
maintain that and stuff. Okay, so I just put down a note of pathway, and so we can look at that, and then let's explore. I think everybody's kind of wants to look at Memorial, so let's look at Memorial first.
Narrow it down and then put some planning into it.
I think the other thing, Gary, in terms of that they're not stopping downtown, you're pulling them over.
Yeah.
You're pulling them over off the highway into that thing. Now, once they're stopped, well, we're here now anyway, why not go
Yeah,
for,
we can get some signage down there too then and get people directed in, like,
Yeah, I was thinking
there's
like
ways
an
to get 'em
information
to
kiosk or
come
something.
in.
and my other thought is that, like Barbie's saying, that trail is long overdue. We should have been doing something about that a long time ago. So anything we do now is on the right track.
And that, I mean, we should look at Memorial Park as a whole and how to spruce the whole thing up at this point. I mean, we still have one ball diamond that's not 100% and whatnot, so
Is it 50%? Like, you know, I mean,
it's
there's
not even, it's like a third.
I was gonna say,
It's, you know, it hasn't recovered from the flood, so like, we need to look at all that and how do we move forward. So, I think this is a good opportunity for us to look at Memorial and how do we plan longevity down there and usage. I don't want to lose the ball diamonds and I mean, we've done work to maintain that and, you know, we're bringing it back, but I think we need to look at the whole area and parking and whatnot as well, so.
didn't look at the budget there. For something about the fencing for the ballpark. Wasn't there something for the making it taller, or
That was a few years ago, but I don't know if we ever.
we never passed nothing?
I think,
Okay.
was that Gary that was looking at it? Gary Mooney?
I don't know. I remember we
That was
talked
up at
about
Riverside.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Netting.
So I think it was more than
Yeah.
netting or something. It was because the balls flying into the other park and stuff, right?
But
I thought we did purchase the netting.
It wasn't big enough.
Wasn't big enough,
Just a
okay.
small section
Oh, okay.
for some reason.
Oh,
otherwise it can be we'll put it on our strategic plan for this year, so we'll pop that over there and see what we want to do there. So. Any
I
other?
mean, if we revitalize ball diamonds too, right? We've had requests for tournaments and things from out of town here. However, they want at least minimum 3, and we're down to 2 for the last while, right? So now if we can get those fixed up, maybe we can start advertising that. Our local clubs are you know, our local ball teams are just playing locally in there. But if we can be inviting to other, it might help to increase the use in the park. Yeah.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I'll move on to the next one. Revved Up Rockin' event held on August 29th. Discussion. Nadine, I'm just gonna.
So we joined forces with the car show this year and held an event from the town to the community. I think it was a big success. We had a lot of fun, and having the two events together really built it up, right? So it was nice to see that, and I really encourage that in the community. So the Revved Up event. I'll do a more detailed report for you when it comes to staff reports the next time. But the event costs us $7,700, just so we're aware. It's when you bring in those larger tribute bands and a few locals, the costs are up there because you have to bring in the proper sound guys and all of that. So we were lucky enough that the band had their own sound company that travels with them, and so they gave us a discount. But usually that's about $4,000 to $5,000 just for sound alone before you look at a band. The band gave us a deal just because I know one of them, so we lucked out, and they gave us a discount as well to $4,000 just for the tribute band to come out. So there's a cost there. So it's something that we have to look at when we look at strategic planning for that space, and if we want to continue to do, you know, do we want to do one big one at the beginning of the season and one big one at the end and from the town, and look at some ways to make that happen, and then also throughout the season, right, when it's open and can be available to the community to use. There's some costs there. Our local bands, just for awareness sake, they're anywhere from, yes, I'll just come and play, to $500 to $2,500 to $3,000. So our local groups, you know, they want something in return. So there's some costs associated with putting on, you know, when you look at Penticton puts on weekly, or, you know, even some of the smaller communities, so some costs involved. So our biggest costs were the entertainment. We didn't charge anything for the vendors to come, the food vendors to come. We let them just come, and as long as they met some guidelines, and then also with the car show supporting that and bringing their cars down. So it came alive, so it was nice to see. We closed at 9:30, more because we did it as a family thing, And second is that a few of your staff have to get up at 6 in the morning the next day to come. I don't actually leave the park until about 11:30 at night, so I considered that as well myself, just so for awareness sake. But I think it was a huge success, and we had 300 to 400 people in the park. I feel I did a kind of a lifeguard head count quickly and did groupings, and that's what I came up with. So it's hard to judge it when we don't have ticket sales. So there you go.
That was really the first test of our new venue, and I think that it performed very well. The atmosphere of the area, the downtown core was good. Lots of people walking up and down the streets, and I think that the venue has proven to be a good space, good use of space.
I go on and on about this, but as far as I'm concerned, music adds atmosphere to your community. The more you can, we have a lot of things, a lot of attractions that people can walk around and see. And I just think the more times we can bring people in or have them, give them an opportunity for a place where they can play their music or whatever, and as long as it's not too late or anything else. The only other thing I would bring in there is, as far as I'm concerned, as I drive by that, what do we call it, the town square or plaza? It's getting more, with the plants and everything else, it's getting more and more attractive, and as they grow and everything else. Folks, that Fortis building is a detriment to the whole thing as far as I'm concerned. Some kind of a facade on it. I don't know whether you could paint it or do something. We put money into other buildings to help them fix up. And then we have that big gray thing sitting right in front of us.
It has been a topic of discussion with staff as well, and so we'll be bringing something at strategic planning on that. So
we were talking about it, and FireSmart might be able to help us get a grant to do a new FireSmart's facade, because it's wood, right? So.
And then I jokingly said we can give ourselves $5,000.
That's all you get.
Like adding a beer garden or something to offset the cost, like to, then you could obviously do more, or just
I don't. So my thing would be go back to the community and let them do a fundraiser, and whether we look at, they give, we'll figure that out. I don't know if it's something that the town of Princeton should be hosting as a recreation department. It is, all of us talked about it while I was walking around the square and talking to people, and many people wanted to see, want to see that. I really enjoyed that it was family. Like when you went up front for the dancing, it was full of kids. There was that lovely little gentleman who was dancing like Elaine from Seinfeld, and I was just thoroughly enjoying myself watching them. So there's that. There is an aspect of looking at how to do that. The fencing of it would be, exactly. And you have a family section, you have a beer garden section, similar to what we do when we do the first game opener, right? We've done those before. So there's that look of it when you have that fencing up. It's not very pretty, but it is an option. And I think it's looking at, maybe one of our local groups wants to fundraise, and that's something we can consider. They just have to meet all our CAPE guidelines, and it's something easily to do. I just don't think that, if we're doing it through the town, then we're hiring staff, you got to be certified, serving it right, all that stuff. And it just adds another layer. So for me, I'd rather see it go back to a community group that would want to take it on. They lead it, they just meet our guidelines, and we go for it. So there's that aspect of it.
Yeah, there's increased security costs and all that as well,
Security,
'cause it's
everything
outside.
is it becomes a cost. It is a moneymaker. I always say, unfortunately, I use it for, I hold those things out in Tulameen as well, and you do make some money when you add a beverage garden.
Offset some of the costs. But.
Yeah, but for us, I think, I don't know if it's really appropriate for the recreation department to do it. Yeah.
It was a great event. Kudos to you and everybody on Mike's side that got that done. It was a wonderful weekend, so thanks for that. Okay, well, let's move into grant and aids. I think James is going to recuse himself. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will kind of present the grant and aid purposes and amounts for council's consideration, and then I'm going to recuse myself because I do have a family member who has proposed one. So just going to give you the balls and strikes, and then I will exit. There are 4 grant and aids that were applied for before the deadline. John Allison Elementary is asking for $10,000 for an outdoor classroom concept, sunshades and some outdoor things at John Allison Elementary. Kokanee Summer Swim Club is asking for $3,000 for coaching support. The Princeton Arts Council is asking for $10,000 for the Copper Mountain Music Festival. And the Princeton Curling Club is asking for $5,000 for rings for the curling club. Recommendation, I will leave it up to council's discretion, obviously, for John Allison Elementary and the Summer Swim Club. The Princeton Arts Council already has a line item, so my recommendation would be to defer that to budget. If we want to increase their line item, a line item and a grant and aid, could be seen by some as double dipping, so that should probably be referred to budget, and if we want to increase the line item, we can. And then the curling club, my recommendation is to defer that to the recreation budget. That's under $5,000. That would be relatively easy to pay under building maintenance. With that, I did do a handout to start with. Councillor Gould requested the last 5 years of grant and aids, which was handed out before the meeting for council's perusal. And with that, I will leave council to debate. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to jump right into the first one. I putting the kids aside, I cannot support any funding to the school districts at this time. This is a capital cost as far as I'm concerned, and the school district needs to start paying for school district stuff. Watching their meetings, trustees are saying maybe the town person can pay for this, maybe the town person can pay for that. Maybe they can go and get a grant from the town of Princeton, and I'm just, quite honestly, I'm kind of done with it. We're still waiting on the school district to provide us with a easement so that we can hook up the power to our new sewer system on that side of the river, which impacts them probably more so than us, other than our arena, but I mean, to school to John Mouse, or the Riverside Center and the high school are on that system. And if we see that we're going to have ice jams or whatever, we may have to go with that. So I'm a little perturbed with this whole thing. I understand their point, but they should be asking the school district for funding for capital costs at the schools. That's my take on it. Anybody else have anything?
Overall, question on this is, if our policy is usually that it's due by January 31st, why are we seeing?
Yeah, I mean, there's no date to award the grant and aids, but I mean, typically we would do it sooner than this, but I know we had a bit of a rocky road with our audit, and it took a little longer than we normally would like to see, and staff was, quite involved in getting the audit completed, and so just got pushed back.
And then I'd ask for this because I wanted to make sure that the requesters are in compliance as well with policy, and that they're not receiving a lot of times, so everyone would be. But
So the Arts Council has received a considerable, in-kind contribution from the town of Princeton over the last year. And now they're looking for a new building and everything else, and I understand that, but I don't think that's our place to be doing that. They're an umbrella organization that should be leveraging its umbrella and its other grant opportunities, rather than just looking at the taxpayers of Princeton to pay for everything.
Yeah, I feel the same about the school. They should be responsible for that, and the same for the other schools.
I agree about the school board. Or the school situation, as soon as I saw that on there, I thought, why are they not going to the school board for this?
And I still have a bad conversation about over Riverside. I mean, let's be honest, we asked them, we were gonna keep, and they said yes. And they kicked us out, and we put, how many tens of thousands of dollars into that pickleball court just before, and now you see there's grass growing out of it, and it's not being maintained, and vehicles driving across it, and so that's $20,000 worth of pickleball. That's just gonna be a student. So, I mean, I don't. Anyways.
Well, in everything that we fund, as far as I'm concerned, we have to be careful about not taking over other people's responsibilities. As far as I'm concerned, this is right up the alley of upper level government in terms of when you switch over to the Arts Council or things like that, they're parts of our community. They're additions to our community that if it wasn't for help that they get from somewhere, there may not be anything. As far as I'm concerned, the events that they put on and the things that they add to our community need to be viewed entirely different than helping out upper level government and their responsibilities.
Yeah, but we are also providing them. How many hours of staff time did you put into the Arts Council this year, helping them get this stuff?
Yeah, it's meetings, and it's 1 hour meetings here and there, and that's talking just directly with the president and maybe one other about their programs and stuff. They're a group that is kind of doing their own thing right now, so they're approaching the recreation department when they need support, but mostly they handle it themselves, and they're going through some different things. I didn't know they were looking for a new building. I mean, I see the gallery as something it's a great spot for them for selling. It's support with them is more needed around maybe marketing and things like that to support them that way. But it's a group of artists that are creative and imaginative and dedicated to what they do, but they do need some support that way.
So they're asking for funding for an event that's already happened.
Okay.
Right? That's what Shane's just explained, was it's for the festival that just happened. We did support that event.
Yes.
Right? We did it in Arno, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they want to do this event next year, I don't know if they plan on using the same facility, and there's some community pushback, but that was they sent a letter requesting the town that we approved it, that we would let them up there. So I'm just curious, and this is what the event that already happened, are we going to sponsor this, like use this as next year's contribution, and then still, but I think we
case of the rodeo, in the case of the Arts Council, isn't going into those people's pocket. It's going into events and things that are being sponsored by them. It's a positive in my mind. Again, it's part of our community that we can either ignore and hope that they exist, or we can help them out and make them be more successful. But either way, it is not money going into their pockets. It's money that's going into things that will happen in our community. George, you're the liaison.
Well, I've been sitting on that board for 7 years, and in that time I've seen close to 7 different executives elected. It's a group that I think is important in the community. There's no doubt about it. It has a very important role to play in the cultural and artistic abilities and skills and people who exist in this community who are artsy. The Sunflower Gallery is a fine example of that. 30-some artists are represented there, and I think that's quite amazing for a town of this size to have so many artsy people, and you need to support that simply because they are a segment of the community that do contribute to the character of the community. There's no doubt about that. Because there's been so many changes on the board, I see them trying very, very hard to gain an identity in the community. It's been tough. I've sat through many meetings shaking my head and thinking, oh my goodness, is this ever going to happen? Are they going to be able to succeed with some of their plans? And they do have some ambitious plans, but you know what? I think if you don't have ambitious plans, if you don't shoot for the stars, you don't get out there, right? And I think sometimes if you shoot for the stars and you just get to the moon, that's quite an accomplishment. So I think if we follow the suggestion of the financial officer to refer this to budget, I think this is probably the smartest thing to do with this particular request. Maybe there is a few extra bucks we can find for them. I don't know that we'll be able to match what they're asking for, but I think they need our encouragement in some way, and if that's how it comes out of this room, with a little more than what they get, then that's not such a bad thing. And I think they would probably be able to leverage that. I mean, they've already said in their paperwork that any grant from the town can be matched by the BC Arts Council, so whatever we give them, they're going to be able to get some mileage out of it. And I think we need to just kind of keep feeding their fuel in their tank.
Do you want to refer to budget?
Yes, I would.
So there was comments about the fact that these events were after this discussion that we're having now. All of these events, where the requests were for stuff that were gonna happen already. But that's to no fault of anyone who's applicants, like that they
the swim club, they're a large group for our community. They've got a good following of swimmers. I think this year there were just over 80 swimmers that came out, so which is awesome, and they utilize our pool quite a bit, so which is good. And I know they're a group that's well organized, and yes, their staff do need training, and keeping them going and moving forward, similar to us with our lifeguarding staff, right? We need to keep them trained up and returning to do these things. So it's a hard thing when you only have an outdoor pool, right, for the summer months.
Nadine, do we not use those swim club coaches as well for our lifeguard?
We do not, no, because they're not trained for that.
It's never worked for them.
It hasn't worked.
Would help with keeping the hours.
It's hard because then we're burning them out. The swim clubbers, coaches come first thing in the morning to swim with their older swimmers, and then they do an afternoon swim as well. So they're splitting their day up, and if we filled them in between the two jobs, they could be working 10 to 12 hours. And so I think that's a little much. And
during the weekends, which
yeah, they're gone Fridays. Yeah, we struggle with.
And then when they graduate from that, like, do they just stick with the club, or do they eventually come into our field of lifeguards?
No, usually when they right now their head coach is someone who's 21 and you know is in university, and so they just do that. They don't. Yeah. We used them before to help with swimming lessons if they're certified in our, you know, swim for life programming. Some of them don't want to do it. They go and get coaching training, and that's all they want to do. So that's where we sit with that group. Yeah. We did, you know, we did have one this year that did come in, and he was kind of on call because that's all he wanted. Who was certified just as a lifeguard, and so we did use that gentleman who's local, and he would just do on call stuff. We actually had four staff from out of town, from Vancouver, who happened to have cabins or family in the area. So yeah.
Do you want to talk about
Yeah, I mean, what they're asking for is like a lay down, you lay out, it's like a mat, and you freeze it in, and then at the end of the season you can actually remove it and reuse it. We at the arena, we do the exact same thing, and they only last for maybe 6 or 7 years, and you have to replace them. It's become a maintenance item for us, and likely, you know, we probably could coordinate their use with our use, and their order with our order, and you know, I think it'd be quite easy for us to just sort of absorb that into our operational maintenance. It's an operational expense.
So, how would we treat that in terms of?
Well, I think down the road we have to have a bigger conversation with the curling club. We've been doing more at the curling club. He's only going up there doing more. And being in the building. They have volunteers really that run the operation up there, and we all know our volunteers are running out, and they're not always available. So, you know, Lyle and I've talked about it over the years. Like, are we going to have to get more involved in keeping the doors open up there? And how do we do that in support of the curling club? We don't want to lose the curling club, but you know, the operator, the ice plant, you know, those are, how much of that is our responsibility, how much of that is the curling club's responsibility. So I think it's something we should discuss at budget on how we support them, and maybe we sit down with the curling club and chat with them about ultimately what they would like to see for them as well. It's a great facility, and I mean, I know curling's struggling everywhere right now, and we don't want to see it lost. If we can take one of our guys, it's a part-time guy, part-time up there a little bit, and supported by funds from the curling club, then how do we do that? And how do we make sure that the day-to-day operation of the facility is looked after, like the capital costs and you know, the maintenance of the ice sheets and stuff like that.
How do they get away with staff in terms of what we have to have in terms of our operation, what they have up there?
Yeah, so they run an ammonia plant just like we do, except the size of their plant it fits under the radar of the BC Safety Authority, so they don't have the same requirements that we have. However, ammonia is dangerous, and so the town has helped them with securing the ammonia within their plant and getting their plant running to conform with today's standards and whatever. We did invest in that, and we have been cycling a certified staff member out there to check on it and help them with any problems and whatever. We are slowly working closer and closer together anyway. It's been a natural progression, and in the interest of public safety and whatever. And so they are fully compliant. There's no question about that. They do fly under the radar because the size of their plant is a little smaller, but the safety concerns are still there. If they had an ammonia leak, it would be a serious.
I think you're on the right track in terms of.
Well, we had a bit of a scare up there.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that really got my mind talking about what are we, because that's our problem. It's right? And it's like, what would have happened, right? And we got lucky, and we don't want to see something bad happen, but at the same time, it is our building, so we're kind of ultimately responsible for it.
What we have to take into consideration is, I think in a lot of communities, that curling club is run by the town. And we've got away with the fact that it's run by volunteers and everything else. We're getting, really for the addition of that amenity in our community, we've been getting away fairly cheaply. So if we just upped a little bit in terms of our participation in helping them out and giving some of their volunteers a break at different times, I think
Yeah, I think there's no question that their volunteers are experts on making ice and maintaining ice. Where I think they need a little bit of help is maybe the day-to-day maintenance of the building and of the plant. So.
And let's be honest, most of our volunteers are starting to get older too, and they don't want to do all that physical press stuff anymore. So I think that's something, I mean, let's in the meantime, see if we can help them to mark purchasing order, and then probably should we have a meeting with maybe next month, or have a meeting with their board and see if they want to go and bring some options to some budgeting for council. But we have the experts on it. We have certified staff on hand, and it's even just stop in once or twice a day in the shift to check on it's like a little frequent. Okay, so I think curling club is one good for Arts Council, we're gonna send a budget. Swim club, everybody's in favor of giving them their funds. Okay, and John Allison back, sent a letter suggesting that they speak to the school district. Everybody's in favor of that? Do we want to send a letter to the school district too, or just to the
Well, we'll send it to the PAC, that's who applies.
yeah. Send it in general. Anyway, no, we'll just refer back to
It's
staff.
just a discussion, and then we'll bring it back to council at the next meeting.
Would I be allowed to write the letter to the school board?
Okay, we're gonna go on camera now. Can somebody grab James? Motion to go into camera for section 9.1G, litigation or potential litigation of documents. Motion claim, seconder, Carrie, you, with that, we'll go on camera. And your stuff we're gonna talk about in October.
Pardon?
The other stuff you wanted to talk about, we'll do a meeting in October.
Okay. Sounds good.
After UBC.
After what?
After UBC. Let me get through that, and then we'll deal with other stuff.
Did you guys already vote the
Yep, we're
meeting
done.
in a close? Okay.
Yep.